everyone. Welcome back to Flying Solo with Kat. And the Acolyte finale has now premiered. It has happened, and the season finale is over. Wow. I will just flat out say I am very impressed. I post my initial thoughts on my personal Twitter. Um, but I was pretty impressed. I was a little bit concerned that it was going to hit for me like episode 7. Sorry, not like episode 7, like episode 6 did for me. If you haven't watched my review on those two episodes, please go watch them. But I did think that it was going to be more like 6 for me and really struggle to keep up with it. But it was not. It was more like episode 7 for me, and I really, really enjoyed it genuinely. Overall, I think this show has a lot of problems, but at the end of the day, Leslie's initial thoughts on what the series is and what it could be is very compelling and very nuanced in a way that Star Wars hasn't really gone. Is it an Andor? No, because they're completely different shows. Is it an Ahsoka? No, because they're completely different shows. So I'm very much judging this show on it being High Republic, it having Force users, and what they do with that. And I would say they execute it pretty well. As I said before, is it perfect? No, absolutely not. I think it's I think with everything that Leslie wanted to do and what we saw in this show, I think it would have been actually really hard to execute. I think there's a couple, things with acting, especially with the young girls, as again, no hate to them, but I do just want to point that out. I do think that took a lot of people out. Osha and May, I think, just in general as characters, took a lot of people out. I am seated, though, for them, and you will hear my thoughts in 2 seconds about them. But I think now that it's ended, I can kind of breathe a sigh of relief because I'm definitely going to go watch the series, like, as a whole when I talk about like my entire review of The Acolyte, because I'm still kind of thinking, I'm recording this the day after episode 8 released. I'm still thinking about, okay, that was actually a really good thing. I don't like how they did that. But so I will do a full-on Acolyte review talking about it, comparing it to other TV shows. But today, I'm just talking about the episode. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it. So, of course, we come back with Osha breathing with the mask on, which was great. It ties almost directly in to episode 6. Episode 6. And it kind of makes me, like I said, want to rewatch it and actually kind of compose a thing to where it's like 1, 2, episode 3, episode 7, 4, 5, 6, 8. I do think that might make it flow better, but I will, of course, post that and let you guys know if that rewatch does work. And of course, she like sees stuff and freaks out, and Kumar like immediately rushes over to her and takes the helmet off, and he sees his eyes go all black, almost like how Mother Anastasia did to Torben, and thankfully he's able to take the mask off. But I find it really interesting that it seems like Osha very much, especially in this episode, they kind of treat her as if she has her mother's power, if she has Anastasia's power of the witches, even though she wasn't connected with the coven. It seems to me like they're gonna probably explore that a bit more if they do get a season 2. That she definitely is gonna have some witchy stuff with her. And basically Osha sees May killing Soul without a weapon. So now it's a race to kind of save Soul. And of course, this is the part where it kind of gets a little jumbled up, but it is what it is. They're, of course, over Brendock, and May is with Soul, and May just is not being cooperative, and she wants to get out of there. So she stuns Soul, poor Soul, and rushes out of there, gets an escape ship, See you in hell, Jedi, which I loved. Immediately when I heard that, I was like, well, that's Han Solo right there. In Empire. People were freaking out about that for some reason. They were like, see you in hell? What? That's not Star Wars. I'm like, what, bro? I even remembered that from Empire Strikes Back. Like, what? That's a little cray cray. So, people that were freaking out about that, like, no, literally Han Solo says it in Empire, and that's why they would have been able to use it. So it made me smile when she said that because again, I immediately thought back to Han saying it in Empire when he was on the Tauntaun. So I was a little pissed at Basil too because Soul had May in his sights ready to shoot or whatever he was gonna do, and Basil just is like, nope, we're not gonna do that. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me, Basil? Like, come on. Soul has been through a lot, but I think Basil knew what was up. I think he was like, this is not it. So, I love how they didn't just hide Basil away. I think he actually kind of had a purpose in this episode, which is really funny. Um, so yeah, I think them having the entire like end portion on Brendock in their old coven home was such a good choice. Like, good job, Leslie. I think that was a great way for Soul to come back and face his demons. Is as lightly as I can put it. And also kind of being the place where where wrongs become right, no matter how wrong or right it is. Then we skip to Venestra. And I don't trust her. Granted, I'm not really into the High Republic books, and I'm really interested to see how people react to what she's doing. If it's in character for her, if it's not. But I don't trust Venestra. I really, really don't. I want to because beautiful woman, but I don't trust her. I really don't. And of course, she doesn't want an external view of the Jedi, which, of course, I did not get the senator's name because it was super fast, but he wants an external view of the Jedi. And I love that we're seeing the politics of it as well, because I always love politics in Star Wars. And the fact that he very much is not afraid of the Jedi and basically goes into this Luthen kind of monologue of why the Jedi should be examined and what it does to the Republic. And I was like, oh, okay, Andor, little squeeze in there. And I really like that. He just basically came in, was like, no, you don't, and then walked out. And I was like, okay, if we, quite honestly, I think I would have felt a little bit better if we had one more episode for the Acolyte, just focusing on the politics. I feel like that would have been really, really cool. And we're getting little crumbs and bits and pieces, and I think Leslie kind of knows, like, we already know the story of the fall of the Republic and the external view of the Jedi and why that led to issues, but why that also, led to people's thoughts about the Jedi not being skewed, but kind of realizing that they're not all great and powerful. Not that they're evil. The Jedi are not evil. The Jedi are good, but of course they have, sometimes rotten eggs in their ranks. And of course, the public seeing that and Venestra not being able to keep that away from them is what leads to the downfall of the Jedi with the Republic, which then turns into the Empire. So, very much like that. I hope we get more of that in season 2, or just in the books in general, which I know the books do a really good job at examining the inner works of the Republic, but I would love to see that on screen. So that was a really good scene. And then, of course, we cut back to Osha on the planet with Kamar. And can I just say, her outfit is fire. I immediately, when I saw that, I was like, oh, someone please cosplay that right now. Just the hood and the gray to match with Kamar's black. It's almost, for me, as a I want to call myself entertainment designer. I'm not, but I am trying to study character concept art and just concept art in general. And outfits are so important when it comes to characters. And I'm gonna go on a slight little tangent here, so I apologize. But with Kumar's outfit, it's the darkest darks, the blackest blacks, and he's evil, right? We get that. With Osha, we of course she was wearing that white jumpsuit, and now she is in this gray kind of hood. She's hiding herself, very tight to her body, which is very much like she's keeping close to herself. She doesn't know what to expect, and she's very much on guard. It's very much a fighting outfit as well. Then we go to May, and she's in all white. She's in that white jumpsuit, and she is in that white jumpsuit for all of the episode. So for me, this is so much of the sisters keeping the balance, which I will get into in a little bit too, of Osha is now going more towards the dark side, going a bit darker, while Osha is trying to kind of come back to herself and kind of stay towards the light side. And I think that is really, really interesting. And it might have not been truly at the forefront of when designing these characters or these costumes, but for me that always sticks out is color combination and what the characters are doing and what they're trying to say through their outfits. And god, I love that about design and just overall characters in general. So I loved her outfit. It was a big win for me. Darth Plagueis, my man, the myth, the legend, he shows up. I liked it. I think it's one of the biggest reveals in Star Wars history. And I'm going to not even say that lightly, because I do think that having him on screen, I did not think the show was going to do that. I thought, okay, maybe we might get ties to, like, have you ever heard of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? And I did think that we were going to get that, but to actually see him, oh my god. I mean, I'm not huge. I'm like, I'm not casual Star Wars fan, but I'm also like, I like the things that I like, and I don't really branch out of that. But even for me, like with Plagueis, like I was like, oh shoot, he's a really important character. This is something that is big for Star Wars, and they can't go back now because realistically, the Plagueis novel that they had was Legends. That was all Legends. Now, of course, it was made canon in the prequels when Palpatine said, "Have you ever heard of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?" But we had never seen from the book Plagueis. We've never seen the character in live action. We've never really stated what really happened. We've kind of treated Legends as canon for a little bit, but now this is even more pieces to the puzzle, and I am really excited, especially for the fans that really like him and wanted him to show up. That's amazing for me, and quite honestly, I love that for you guys. So for me, even, it was great to see him, and a lot of people were like, I don't understand why he's showing up. I don't get it. And I do think that Plagueis could be Kumar's master. I truly do think, and I think that was him looking on kind of in a proud way. Well, not a proud way, but as much motion that you can get for his disfigured face. But Kumar's taking on a pupil. That was the entire goal of the episode. Taking on an acolyte who kills without a weapon. Again, we will get into that later. But this is like huge. And Plagueis seeing that, he's going, okay, this is the first steps to, the rule of two. Now, we do know that Palpatine kills Plagueis. Do I think Kumar is Palpatine? I do not. Do I think Osha will have anything to do with Palpatine? I do not. I'm wondering how that will kind of flow in a way, but I'm not, like I said, I don't think it will have anything to do. I think Plagueis is probably like Palpatine, where he had so many contingency plans to where he was kind of like, well, this is my pupil, but my pupil doesn't know about my other pupil, and my pupil's pupil doesn't know about me. I do think it will all work out in the end, but I don't think we're gonna see Palpatine at all. It's 100 years before the Phantom Menace. Darth Plagueis, I mean, this man is like a being. I think he's fine to be there. But Palpatine's probably not going to show up at all. Unless season 2 does a time jump, which I think would be interesting. But I don't think we're going to get it. Well, again, after that, sorry, they go to fight on Brendok. Sol has to face his past. Kumar and Sol meet again. They have this amazing fight, which I really liked. I really like Kumar's saber, and I do think when it comes to Galaxy's Edge, I do think I'm going to get it. Mainly because his lightsaber, if I can describe this without really having any video, but it's a full-on lightsaber, right? And then the ending is almost like Maul's, right? To where it kind of breaks in half, but it's smaller. I thought it was the same size, but no, it's actually freaking smaller. And I don't know if that was like, because I thought it was the same size in episode 6. So for it to be smaller though in this episode, like legitimately, I do not remember what it looked like in episode 6, so I'm not, or even episode 5, so I'm not concerned about it, but just the satisfying click that it does and him able to dual wield like that, oh my god, please. And it's not like a long lightsaber, which I like. I really, really like that. Because for me, what I don't like about Mauls, which I know, ooh, hot take here, is that it's just so long. And for me, it's really hard to just even hold and like even think about fighting with it. That's just honestly how I feel. I know a lot of people love the double bladed lightsaber, but for me, when you can detach and like have one lightsaber and not even have the other side ignited, but then break it and have both ignited, oh my god. Just beautiful. I love it. May and Osha have their confrontation, and May seems legit scared of Osha. Osha's showing she's angry. She is not happy. And May tries to explain, like, look, Sol basically lied to you. And now, granted, if I was Osha, I would not believe May for 1 second. So I was like, May, I don't know how much this is going to help. But May seemed really scared of Osha and what she was becoming, and I loved just that expression on her face, and I really thought the actor did amazing with that. May saves Kumar, but throws his lightsaber away because we all thought, okay, May's gonna kill Sol. That's like the whole thing. That's what's gonna happen. Coolio. And then May wants Sol to face his crimes. She wants him to admit that he killed their mother, that this whole thing was basically his fault. Granted, bit of it was Torben's fault, but whatever. And him to admit to the council, to the Republic, of, what that happened. And, of course, he explains that Ocean and May are the same person, and that creating life, and that was the virgins, which I thought Leslie said in an interview that the twins were not the virgins, that it was something else on the planet. So maybe that was her way of saying, like, the twins are not the virgins, but the creation of the twins is the virgins. Overall, I think whatever, it's really important. It's an important thing that happened in the Force that kind of gets on that would get on the Republic's radars. It's not really, I don't care about the virgins. It's not that big deal. Basically, they want you to take away that, yes, creating life through the Force and making Osha and May the same person, basically, is they have a lot of Force. And that even kind of reinstates my theory and a lot of people's theories of the balance between the two. You have to have one that's the light side and you have to have one that's the dark side. Which is, for a lot of people, they were like, I don't get it. Why even do that? Like, just make them both like. Now, I hate the term gray Jedi. Never want to use the gray Jedi. But some people were like, why don't you just make them gray Jedis? Or is May a gray Jedi? Like, no. George's original plan, just for even Star Wars, was you have the dark side, you have the light side. One is evil, one is good. Which is not nuanced at all when you get into it. It is very, very basic stuff. And that's what Star Wars is at the end of the day. But Leslie taking that and being like, hey, we got to have a dark side and a light side. But what if you change from good to bad? But with the twin, how does that balance out? And it balanced out really well. And I was very surprised. So, again, Osha finds out that Soul killed Anastasia. And, she's mad. And she force chokes him. I was shocked. I was like, why is he choking? And then it pans to May. And she's, like, scared. She doesn't know what's going on. And I'm like, uh-oh. And then it pans to Kumar. And Kumar's, like, kind of shocked, but he's also proud in a way. And I was like, uh-oh. And then it, of course, goes to Osha, and she's freaking force choking the life out of him. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Leslie, you did not. You did not. And she did. An Acolyte kills without a weapon. Damn. I mean, that really does come full circle. And I think at the end of the day, like, that scene, I think, sold me the show. And sold me, okay, I get the story. This is a story I'm interested in. I want to see more. Mainly because it truly was that bait and switch. And I think it even shocked Osha. I mean, it shocked all of them, right? And even Soul saying, like, it's okay. Just, whoa. Like, oh God. And it was, of course, our first on-screen Kyber bleed, which I loved. And I thought that was great. My ultimate favorite, of course, is the Kylo Ren's bleed, where he's basically, he's freaking shirtless and he's, like, holding it in his fist. I always thought that one was funny. It's not the best representation, but it's the one that, of course, always pops out at me. But I do think that this is my new favorite. I also like the one from Jedi Survivor. I do like that Kyber bleed, but I think this one's actually done the best, in my opinion. So Osha just turning to the dark side was kind of sick. And, like, even Kumar trying to like comfort her, and her lashing out with the red lightsaber, or like the blue turns to red. I was like, oh, okay, I see it. I love it. Give it me. So I thought that was really cool. Of course, Venestra shows up, and Kumar's without his helmet, right? And immediately Venestra kind of senses him, and she says, you're alive? And then I'm like, oh, Venestra? And, of course, like, Kumar puts on his helmet really fast, and then he's gone, and I'm like, ooh, interesting. That is very, very interesting. So there is definitely more to that story with Venestra and with Kumar, and I don't know how people feel about that. Venestra is not evil, by the way. I do want to put that out there, but she is having to make a lot of hard decisions, and I don't know where that will leave her. May helps Osha escape, and the twins forgive each other. And this one, I actually did cry during this, because I wanted them to just make up and just hug each other and be like, it's over. We killed who killed our mother. Like, we're at peace now. which I know it's Soul and we all love Soul, but still, like, just it was so good, and I do feel like it was earned, which was great as well. Um, the fact that they forgave each other at the tree, it just it made me so happy, and I was like, hey, this is Star Wars too. Like this, I love feeling this happiness and just this overall contempt. Now, of course, Kumar shows up and he's like, y'all are gonna get yourself killed. What are you doing? And May sacrifices herself, which this took me a bit to understand because originally I was like, why did she do that? But I truly did think that even her explaining, like, if this is your choice, I want you to make your choice. We go back to episode 5, and May wanted to turn herself into the Jedi anyway. She was kind of done running. She didn't want to have any connections with Kumar. Her vengeance was all done. She got her revenge on Soul. She's done. She's good. With Osha, she has so much more to discover with the dark side. And I think May almost realizing it before Osha that they need to keep the balance. That's kind of like the whole thing. And so, of course, Kumar offers that he can wipe her memories. That way they can't use May to really. They can use May to find Osha, but it won't be as quickly. And it's not really May's fault. I liked that. Originally, I was like, ooh, interesting. I don't really like tampering with memories. That's never been like, it's not a pet peeve of mine when it comes to like writing, but it's always like kind of an easy cop out. But I do think it worked with this, and it will work better with season 2, which I'll get into in a tiny bit. So of course, then May is left there. Kumar and Osha go back to the island, hold hands. It's very cute. We love it. Okay, Raylo. Like, that's literally what I said out loud when it was with the sunset. And I was like, okay, Raylo. Okay. But I am interested in the relationship. I think that episode 6, if you've not seen my review, you all know my thoughts on how I felt about their relationship. But I think with how how Osha's turn to the dark side was handled, and how she killed without a weapon, and how Kumar basically offered her at the beginning of the episode, would you be free to train? Or would you want me to train you? And she immediately says no. Like, no, not a good idea. And then he asks her again. She's like, no, I'm not my sister. And Kumar says, no, you're not. Because she immediately said yes. And that makes Osha kind of pause for a bit. And she was like, oh, like, maybe I do want this. Is he still kind of manipulating her? Yes, I do believe that. But I think at this point in Osha's life, she knows so much of what happened that he's not really manipulating her anymore. It's more of just him kind of telling her the truth and her realizing, like, let's try this thing. Like, I think this might be whatever. So I found that really interesting. Again, I am interested in the relationship, not as much as I am Raylo, but I do think it's good, and I think it leaves a lot to season 2. Venestra frames Soul. I was not expecting that either. Well, okay, that's a lie. I was kind of thinking, okay, Soul's reputation is going to get trashed with the Jedi, but I do think that, like, I did think he was going to be alive for when the trashing happened, but nope, he's in the Force. And Venestra giving Soul a proper Jedi burial on the water, like, that made me tear up, because I'm like, okay, that's really nice. And I'm happy that Soul had that, because he was a good man with not good intentions. No, he was a good man with good intentions that were not good. I don't know if that makes sense. But overall, I think that it was something really well done. And Venestra, I don't trust Venestra, but I get why she frames Soul. That way the Sith, the Sith are not back. That's why the Jedi don't know the Sith are back, because everyone's freaking lying around. And I thought that was interesting. Venestra tells May the truth. She really didn't lie. A lot of people were saying that, well, she's lying about how things transpired. Like, not really. Soul killed their mother. Like, the Jedi did fail May and Osha. Her not being totally clear on Osha that she's turned Sith. Like, she's not going to tell her every single bit of detail because she really, truly wouldn't know. She would only know kind of the basis level info. But I do like that they're being nice to May and they're not like, oh, May, the Jedi killer, like, oh, we're not going to help you or whatever. We're going to imprison you. I'm glad that Venestra's like, no, like, we did something that was wrong, but you can help us. So I'm glad she's not, like, getting framed in a sense, because truly she has no memories. Like, I was hoping they were going to have a scene to where it's like, where the Jedi were like, well, you killed someone. And then she was like, well, look into my mind. Like, I don't have any recollection of killing anyone. So I'm glad that they're going that way, to where I do think Osha will help the Jedi, help Venestra, and of course turn to the light side, right? While Osha fully goes dark side. And it's the balance in the Force. It is the balance between the two. And I find that very, very interesting. And then, of course, we see the old little green guy at the end, Master Yoda, talking with Venestra. And Leslie, you freaking liar. You liar. She said in multiple interviews, oh yeah, no, Yoda's not gonna show up. No, he's not gonna be there. Granted, did he have as big as a part as I think a lot of people were hoping for? No. Am I glad that we just got to see the back of his head? Yes, thank God. That leaves so much for season 2. Yeah, I want a season 2. I originally was like, I think Leslie almost left it too open, though, for season 2, which is unfortunate. This is kind of the same thing as Ahsoka, to where I'm always concerned with what Disney will greenlight, what they won't greenlight, what Lucasfilm wants to progress with their stories, what they find is most marketable. There's all these different factors that people don't realize. And I wish that, of course, Ahsoka was going to get a second season. But Ahsoka coming out right after the writer's strikes, there was, or basically during the writer's strikes, there was no way to know if the show was going to get renewed. Truly, I didn't know what was going to happen. So until they confirm it, I am still a bit concerned that it will not get a season 2 and will end up not it. Do I think, if it does get a season 2, do I think it will progress more? No. I think season 2 needs to be it for this show. And that's hard to talk about because the entire cast, the crew, Leslie, even Dave, they seemed like they really enjoyed focusing on this timeline in Star Wars, especially in live action. Lee Jung-jae, of course, did an amazing performance, and I do hope some of the cast gets nominated for Emmys. But at the end of the day, because they don't have such heavy hitters like Lee Jung-jae, or some of the other cast, I can't remember their names right now. I do think it might be a little bit easier to get a season 2 because you have Amandla Sandberg, you have Manny, and then you have the beautiful woman that plays Sinestra, and that's kind of it. And then Plagueis, you gotta show up Plagueis. But I do think it leaves it open for a season 2. The balance between the two, the dark and the light, Osha training with Kumar. Now it's May finding Osha and not Osha finding May. And yeah, I think seeing a light sider struggle with the dark side, and I want to see her struggle, especially when it comes to training. I think will be really interesting. It's what Ben Solo should have had, and I hate bringing him into this because so many people are already like, I hate the Acolyte mainly because this is what Ben Solo should have had. Like, shut up. Please, just stop. He is such a different character and has nothing to do with the Acolyte. Either enjoy the show or go read your fan fiction. I don't care. But with the Kyber bleeding, with Osha's descent to the dark side, force choking her master, basically killing him, I do think it has a couple parallels to Ben Solo, and I do hope that he will be handled almost as well as Osha was, and I do think Osha was handled very well. So that was just a parallel I saw. Who cares about Ben Solo? I'm kidding. I love him. But he was not the focus, of course, in the Acolyte. It was Osha, and I do think Osha was handled very well. And yeah, I think it leaves a lot open for season 2. So congratulations to Leslie, to the actors, to the writers, to everyone who worked on the show. It was absolutely a pleasure to review, sit down every week, and watch it. I hope you all enjoyed my thoughts on The Acolyte. We're done for right now. We have some Young Jedi Adventure episodes coming in August, but after that, we're kind of open for what weekly videos will be. So if you have any suggestions of what you would like me to talk about, next week's episode is episode 50. So we're going to have something a little special for that episode. But thank you all so much for listening. Let me know what you guys thought of The Acolyte. And I will see you